What's going on, everybody? It's Dot Bets. We're checking back in. We got our On the Dot NFL Week 4 live stream coming at you guys here. Optimism is always high. Fears are low, okay? We got to have a lot of optimism this morning. We are ready to get after it on this beautiful slate. Already saw the Toy Story London game going on. So if you guys have any updates on that while we go through the stream, would love to hear them. I just saw the Ridley touchdown. That cashed probably a lot of sports books, first touchdowns, anytime touchdowns. Subscribers have a same game parlay with him rolling right now. Plus, he's on my fantasy team. So optimism is at an all-time high. Let's keep that going throughout the show. If this is your first time here, make sure you guys go check out occupyfantasy.com. This is powered by them. Absolutely love the guys over there. You guys have any questions, DFS, optimizers, lineups, questions, join their Discord. Hit occupyfantasy.com/Discord. Guys are amazing. They help you develop a better process. And they're not going to give you picks. They're not going to give you, they give you stacks, stuff like that. But they're all about the process and making sure you guys are different. So make sure you guys go check those guys out over at occupyfantasy.com. We'll be using their OccuProp radar as well to find some edges in the sports books. And make sure you guys go, we'll use their live odds tool as well. And they have their deposit bonuses on their website. Make sure you guys utilize those so you have different advantages against different books for sure. All right. So if you have not been here before, we go through some spreads and we got some totals today. Then we'll go through a subscriber teaser play as always, which have been we've been 1 and 3 on those so far, or 1 and 2 so far. And I'm a little shocked on a couple that have blown our leads for us in those teasers. So we're going to get back on track with those. And then we have 3 props and an anytime touchdown pick to click, basically. And then a 3-leg anytime touchdown parlay. So if you guys are on YouTube, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. If you guys are on Twitch or YouTube, make sure you guys leave a comment. Love to hear from you guys regarding any props, DFS strategies, start and sits in fantasy. Let me know. And then if you're on X or Twitter, whatever the hell they're calling it now, simply hit that retweet or repost button. And that goes a long way to getting more eyes on this show. And I know it's a little bit early in the morning, but we got London game going on. Everybody should be up, ready to get after some NFL football on this beautiful Sunday morning where optimism is high. And let's get our fears very, very low. All right, so let's get into it. Let's go game by game real quick. So we got the Commanders Eagles. So this is where I'll just go through what my thoughts are in each game and how I'm going to attack it DFS wise or if I'm going to midi stack it or whatnot. Eagles, Commanders. Hurts continues to be at the top of the Occupy's model, and I continue to fade him, and he continues just to do what he wants to do. So if you're playing cash games, you can go ahead and play Jalen Hurts. I just don't think there's much upside here for a stack with a 43-point total and a 9.5-point favorites. I think the Eagles should route them. I think Swift is a great play. He's 5,700, very, very cheap. But anybody coming back on this Commanders team is in disarray. Sam Howell just cannot stop getting sacked. He's on the pace for like over 100-plus sacks in this season. It's just incredible. Eagles front four should get after him. A game that I'm probably going to get the big pieces from the Eagles, but nothing crazy with the Commanders coming back. Then you got the Ravens-Browns game, the lowest total on the slate at 38.5. If you want to take bits and pieces as well from this game, you can. Jerome Ford will be somewhat popular, but Kareem Hunt's still there. You Ravens have all 3 of the running backs. You got Justice Hill, you got Gus, and then you have Melvin Gordon. Zay Flowers should be very, very high owned. If you want to do like a Lamar, Zay Flowers, Andrews stack, you can, but I just don't see much upside in this game. It's going to be a very, very old school AFC North, very, very low scoring matchup in my eyes. Then you got the game of the week. We seem to always have one a week, and they have always delivered. So there was the Chargers Vikings last week, but what I've been seeing is I don't know if we should necessarily full on stack this game. I think we should just try to pick the right pieces. And that's just mini stacking. This is Dolphins Bills game. So it's 53.5 point total. You got a 2.5 point spread with the Bills favored. I think here, if it's just an expensive stack all around. That's why I think bits and pieces are the way to go. Because you try to stack Allen, Diggs, Gabe Davis, or Allen, Diggs, Cook. Then you have or Tua, Waddle, Hill, or Mostert, Waddle, or Mostert, Hill, and Tua. Just a very expensive stack. Doesn't allow you to get too many more elite pieces in your lineup. I'm all for stacking with a mini stack here, maybe going Diggs and Hill, or Diggs and Waddle, Gabe Davis and Hill, Gabe Davis and Waddle, Mostert and Cook, however you like to do it. I think the mini stack is the way to go, just to get bits and pieces of this matchup and not necessarily handcuff you salary wise on DFS. Then you got the Bucs Saints, which reports this morning you got Carr starting, but the first started out that it was Winston. Then Rappaport came out and said it was going to be Carr had a chance. Then it was Winston again this morning, and I believe just before I came on here, they said that Carr is going to give it a go. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. Then you got Baker coming back on this one, a 40-point total. Nothing that I'm extremely excited to play in this game. You have Kamara coming back. He's at 6,100. I've seen his ownership creep up into the low teens. I think people are just going to try to get on him as cheap as possible. If he has a good game, he's going to be in the mid-60s, low 70s, or low 7,000s next week. Another one I don't have too much exposure to here. Don't have too much exposure. If I had anybody, I would go Olave or I would go Evans. But there's other elite options at the wide receiver position this week, so I don't think there's too much to get to. So we got Vikings, Panthers next. The Justin Jefferson's it's 9,600 on DraftKings. It's crazy. And if you're going to play him, you're going to have to play a lot of cheap options. If you want to, I really want to target this game, and I'm going to stack it. I like the Vikings 3x1 here. The Carolina Panthers have a bunch of cornerbacks and safeties that are out. The Vikings minus 4.5 isn't a bad play. It was at 3.5. I wish I would have taken it then, but it's steamed up to 4.5. Ultimately, I think they get it. They get their first W with Bryce Young back. But this Vikings team, you can play Madison in a stack if you want to be a little bit different, like last week. But I think a good route is to either go Jefferson with Osborne or Addison, Hawkinson, something like that. Where a Jefferson, Hawkinson, Cousins stack is very expensive. And then if you're going to bring anybody back from the Panthers, obviously I think it's pretty obvious this week is Adam Thielen. You already saw Ridley with the revenge game touchdown. I think they're going to heavily target Thielen, and you'll see here shortly as we get into some props that I like that angle here. If you want to go very, very cheap, you can go with Jonathan Mingo, who is an underperforming wide receiver for Occupy Fantasy. And if you know anything about them, the underperforming wide receivers seem to always go off. I would say majority of the time in the not. So always excited to put underperforming wide receivers in your DFS lineups there. And then we have the garbage can bowl. We got Broncos Bears, and ugly enough, when two crappy teams come together, sometimes there's some shootouts, and I'm gonna base a stack off of this one here. I'm gonna go the Broncos side 3x1. Wilson hasn't been horrible for fantasy. He's been horrible as a real life quarterback this year, but as a fantasy quarterback, he's bailed himself out. So Broncos 3x1. The only person I'm going to come back with is DJ Moore for the upside. You could go Herbert or Roshan, but I just think their upside's capped. I think if they're going to have a big game, you'd probably go Mooney or you would go DJ Moore. There's no Claypool today for the Bears. He should be out of the league here very, very shortly with the way he's been acting. But the Broncos 3x1 with Wilson, with Judy, with Sutton, with Wilson, Javante, or Sutton or Judy. I think those are the three routes that I would like to go there. Bring it back with DJ Moore or Darnell Mooney. But yeah, that's just an all around garbage can game. But I'm all there for it though. So sometimes those create some shootouts. We got the Bengals Titans next, 41.5-point favorite. The Bengals. I really, really like this Bengals team, and I think what is going to happen is, and especially against this Titans matchup. This Titans matchup is a pass funnel defense, so I'm not necessarily stacking this game, but I think it's a sneaky stack for the Bengals side. And then another underperforming wide receiver for Occupy is DeAndre Hopkins. So if they come out to a lead and they got to throw the ball, and it goes to Chase, it goes to Higgins, you got a run back with Hopkins. It's a sneaky shootout. It's all dependent on Burrow's calf, and I think watching him on, I think it was Monday night against the Rams, he looked better. I think he threw the ball like 49 times as well. So I think he's limited with the ability to an extent, but I think he's still going to get after it. Do like the Bengals in this matchup, so we're going to go. If you want to stack that game, you can. I'm not getting to it necessarily, but I'm taking Chase, and Higgins is another underperforming wide receiver. So if you have a 1-by-1, if you want to mini stack this game with Hopkins and Higgins, that's a pretty good option as well to get different amongst the field. Then you have the Rams Colts. This game has sneaky shootout ability all day long. Two of the fastest teams, play call wise, play speed wise, basically. And the Rams -1, 45.5-point total. Give me all of this game. I'm stacking the Rams side a little bit more than I am the Colts side, just because Richardson's back. And if you want to play Richardson, you could go like a 2-by-1 with Richardson, Pittman, and then come back with Puka. Or what I'm going to do a lot of the times is go Stafford, Puka, Atwell, come back with Pittman. Can't run it back with Richardson if you like, but you could do a Richardson with an Atwell and Puka. You could go that route. That's extremely different there. But I like this game a lot. Then you got Steelers, Texans, 41.5-point total. I think the run games here should be established. So if you want to grab Jalen Warren, who's pretty cheap at 5, you want to go Dameon Pierce, or you want to go Najee, it's not a bad idea. Two teams that have struggled to really get not their pass game. The Steelers have struggled to get their pass game, but CJ Stroud with Tank Dell, Robert Woods, and Nico have been very, very good. The Steelers defense will not give them enough time, I don't think. I think this front four for the Steelers, with this offensive line issues for this Texans team, I think could give them problems. So I'm more targeting the Steelers defense in this one. An interesting matchup is this 3:00 game with the Raiders Chargers, because you got Aiden O'Connell starting now, not Brian Hoyer. Jimmy G's out with the concussion. And with this Raiders team, a 6.5-point favorite or point dogs, 48-point total. I mean, I'm not going to oppose anybody stacking this Chargers team. I've done it 3 weeks in a row, and I think I've cashed the majority of the time with them because Keenan Allen has just been an absolute beast. But if you want to go a little bit salary relief, we talked about people being very expensive. Aiden O'Connell he's $4,000 on DraftKings. Bring it back with Allen, stack him with Adams and Myers, or Adams and Jacobs. It's very, very doable. Very, very doable. Aiden O'Connell gives you a bunch of salary relief here. Another one that I'm targeting, I'm going to target the 49ers in this Cardinals matchup. Cardinals have been playing teams better than a lot of people thought. Obviously, beating the Cowboys last week ruined a lot of people's survivors, some parlays, whatnot. 49ers, I'm going to stack them 2-0 or 3-0 because you don't have Juwan Jennings. You don't have who's that guy? Who's the running back? Who's their backup running back? I can't remember his dang name. Sorry. Basically, it's going to be the CMC show. And you have CMC with Kittle, Debo's back, Ayuk, and Elijah Mitchell. Sorry, man. That just went through my lips right there. So Cardinals, I'm not going to bring it back with anybody there. I think I'm going to stick with just a 2-0 or a 3-0 stack here for the 49ers. And then the last game of what we got here is the Patriots Cowboys. Not 43-point total. I'm getting bits and pieces. Maybe grab a Tony Pollard just to get it a little bit different. CeeDee Lamb. If you want to go, Brandon Cooks is not a bad idea here as well. Stevenson, I'm always going to be an advocate for Stevenson in trailing matchups to get some receiving yards here, even though he didn't cash for us last week. But we'll get after it this week. So that's a bit of a breakdown, game by game, how I'm attacking this slate DFS-wise, what games I like to target, and just give you guys an idea of where I'm at on this Sunday morning. But let's get into some picks. All right, we'll be here for another 10 minutes or so. We are going to get our first pick out here, and this it's going to go back to the Bengals team. This Bengals team -2.5, -114 on FanDuel. Always hard to go against Mike Vrabel with the home dog or anytime Vrabel is a dog at all. And I'm going back to this Bengals concept that I think with Burrow having a little bit more time. With Burrow, with his calf injury, Chase going to get his first touchdown this week. You got Higgins, who is an underperforming wide receiver. You got Mixon, who won't necessarily run well on this team, but I think this Bengals pass offense should give this Titans defense fits. And I'm thinking the Bengals get back to 2-2 here, win by at least a field goal. I'm all over this as well. So I've seen a lot of people tease up the Titans because of being home favorites with the low total. Would not hate that, but I think the Bengals ultimately win by 3 here or more. So give me the Bengals -2.5 on FanDuel. Next one we got is that sneaky shootout game that I think should be very, very. I think it's a pretty exciting matchup. Richardson back doesn't necessarily mean that this offense doesn't move the football. One of the things that he's very, very good at is avoiding sacks. What he does that with rolling out and making sure he picks up first downs, extending drives, and they play at a very, very extremely high pace. With this Rams offense, with Kyron, with Puka and Tutu, I mean, it's just something that you didn't think you'd ever say this season, that this Rams offense is elite without Cooper Kupp. And it's pretty last Monday night against the Bengals, they got stymied or whatever from that those injuries on the offensive line. They've corrected those in practice this week, and I like this Colts defense. The front four, but their secondary is very, very gettable. And last week was a little bit of a sloppy game against the Ravens and Colts, but I think you can still get this Colts secondary with these young cornerbacks and Stafford and Puka and Tutu. I think Tutu will give them fits today. So give me the over 45.5 -105 on FanDuel. And let me know what plays you guys like today in the comments. Would love to hear from you guys. We'll be here for another about 10 minutes or so. And always, I give you guys a premium subscribers play. It usually goes to these teasers, which we are going to get after here with the 6-point teaser. This is on DraftKings. We're going to go Cowboys pick'em, Bucks +9, and Chiefs -3. So going into the Sunday night game here, hopefully we have the first 2 hit, and then if you'd like to, you can always hedge with the some type of Jets play, but I don't know if you'd ever hedge with the Jets. But +160, 1.25 units. Cowboys should come back and get a victory here, bounce back effort here. Bucks, Saints, typical Wong teaser here. If you got a road opponent +3 and a low total, tease that up 6 points, get through those key numbers, go +9 there, and then bringing back the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs were they're -9 currently. Gets that to a field goal, +160, 1.25 units. Like this teaser quite a bit. But yeah, we've had a couple favorites just lose in the last 2 weeks. I think the Jaguars screwed us last week, but we're back at it. We're gonna get these teasers right, and we'll get back to 500 with them. So Let me know in the comments if you like what teasers you like or what strategies you like to throw with some teasers. I always like to incorporate that in the betting strategy. All right, and we got 3 props. And as we have props, we're going to go to the OccuProp Radar. This is free on Occupy Fantasy's website. Simply go to occupyfantasy.com, scroll all over to this betting tab. There's deposit bonuses, there's live odds, and the OccuProp Radar. I have this on my homepage. Usually when I open my computer, you look at the live odds, you look at the OccuProp Radar, just incredibly easy. And we are going to go with Adam Thielen here. So I talked about him earlier in the stream. A revenge game. You've already seen Ridley get a touchdown against his former team. We're all about the revenge aspect here. So we're going to go Adam Thielen over 4.5 receptions. And if you come down here to total receptions, we scroll down, total receptions over 4.5 minus 120 on DK. It's also 120 on FanDuel, a little bit more juice on BetMGM and Caesars. Very, very useful tool. You can see if there's any discrepancies in some lines across the different sports books. And if you're looking at Adam Thielen, he's gotten 7 catches the first week, 11 in the second week. Obviously, the second week was with the third week, sorry, with Andy Dalton. But he's cashed 7 and 11. He's become a target hog for this team, and not a lot of people. It's not a sexy player to draft, but he's a solid wide receiver 3 this week in fantasy, and I think he could easily catch 5 with Bryce Young back. I don't think that's too much of an issue. You don't like to see Bryce Young throw the ball deep. He has a little bit more intermediate passes, and Thielen should absolutely cash this over 4.5 receptions at minus 120 on DK. All right, and we got a little bit of a contrarian play here because everybody, including myself, surprised by DeAndre Swift's usage, just surprised that he's getting all of a bunch of snaps now. He's I think he's the RB1 there. There's no doubt about it. But this guy is not going away. It is simply not going away. So, and that is Kenneth Gainwell. So a little contrarian here, but over 6.5 rush attempts. If you even though Swift is the lead back, we've seen that in the last 5 games for this Eagles team, just for the last 3. How about for this year? He's gotten 7, 14, and 14. That's Gainwell. And if you saw last week when they were up big, Gainwell got all of those carries. So they're kind of, I guess, preserving Swift for the long haul. And Gainwell is still one of the, we can't forget about them. He was the RB1 on this team before he got that rib injury. Were they always going to bring Swift in and cut into that usage? For sure. But I think this is still too low. I think if it was at 7.5, 8.5, I wouldn't have played it. But over 6.5, I think we can easily get 7 carries here for Kenneth Gainwell. And it's not on DraftKings or FanDuel, but it's on BetMGM and Caesars. I actually got minus 108 before the stream, and it's actually up to minus 119. 9.5 point favorites. 9.5 point favorites. And if you saw the game last week, Gainwell got a ton of run as the game was out of it. He's still a running back that is adored by this coaching staff and will get enough carries here and enough snaps to cash this over 6.5 rush attempts. But yeah, don't get me wrong. I still love me some DeAndre Swift, and he'll be there. But Kenneth Gainwell, that line is too low. So grab that on Caesars or BetMGM. If you need a deposit bonus, go to occupyfantasy.com and get those deposit bonuses rolling for you guys. All right, and we're going to go back to that Rams-Colts game. So I was talking about my man Tutu Atwell. I had him at a subscriber play over 4.5 receiving yard or receptions last week, and he ended with 4. He had, I think, 3 catches that were taken back by a flag. So I'm going back to the well here against a very, very suspect Colts defense, especially their secondary. In a dome, I mean, Tutu Atwell over 51.5 receiving yards. is it's pretty good. I really, really like this play. Almost made it to a subscriber play, but I'm just glad I can get this out for you guys. Over 51.5. It was actually 50.5 on last night when I was looking at it. Now it creeped up to 51.5 for the show. Minus 115 on DK. I see it as high as 55.5, as you see on the screen there with points bet. Tutu is an elite receiver, and this year for this Rams team is targeted heavily. And this Colts defense, I think, gives up the most 20-plus yard passes in the league so far. You can beat this team deep. So Van Jefferson's not a bad play. If you're going to play some DFS, you could throw Van Jefferson in there, but he's going to catch one ball for like 50 yards. So if you want to take his receptions long, you can. But Atwell's used all over the field. They do that Tyreek, the Miami Dolphins offense where they he splits out and then gets a head start on his route and then gets open from there. So Atwell 51.5 for this team, and you have him. He's gotten 119, 77, and then 50. And 50 last week was deceptive because he should have had close to about 80 or 90 with all of those different penalties that he caught for good chunk plays and just got called back. So he is also another underperforming wide receiver for Occupy Fantasy this week. So I think they got solid 4 or 5 ones that I've talked about in the stream now, and I'm targeting some for their prop totals as well. So like Atwell, like that game environment in the dome, 2 fast-paced offenses. Give me all of that game for sure. All right, and we've a little bit cold on these touchdowns. So I have that parlay that I'm going to give out is a little bit chalky to an extent, but it's 2 guys, or there's 3 guys in there, and we're going to get there just shortly. The first guy that I like, though, to get his first touchdown of the year, we're going to go to that Eagles game, the Eagles-Commanders game. And they tried to target him multiple times last week to get one, and it just has not happened yet. And it's going to happen this week. We got A.J. Brown plus 135 anytime touchdown. I'm also taking his first touchdown to be the first touchdown scorer in the game for plus 700. They're going to get him active, get him going early on. I do like this Eagles team to start out hot and roll against this Commanders team. So A.J. Brown plus 135, and then his first touchdown at plus 700. Those are on DK. So those are over on DraftKings. I got those lines. I think he's plus 135 on DK as well for any time. Let me know in the comments who you guys like to score a touchdown this week, and then we'll end the show here with the anytime touchdown parlays. And this one I made on FanDuel. So we're going to go Chase, Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, and George Kittle. Three guys, 3 elite matchups. Chase hasn't scored yet. Brown hasn't scored yet. And Kittle has the greatest matchup against the Cardinals, who can't stop a nosebleed with the tight end position. So Jamar Chase, very, very weak very, very weak secondary pass funnel defense for this Titans team. Think he can for sure gets in the end zone. And then we got A.J. Brown. Already talked about him. And then you got George Kittle. The Cardinals just let up so much receiving yards and touchdowns to the tight end position. Give me all of Chase, Brown, and Kittle plus 1486 for 0.25 units on FanDuel. All right, so to recap, you guys, we went through our stacks of the week. We went through our mini stacks, how to go through that very, very high-paced Buffalo Miami game. And then we have the Bengals, 2.5 favorites. We're going to go with them. We got the Rams Colts over. We got our VIP premium subscriber teaser that I give out every single week for you guys. And then we have Thielen over 4.5 receiving yards or receptions. That'd be crazy for 4.5 receiving yards. Kenneth Gainwell, the contrarian play here, over 6.5 rush attempts. Tutu Atwell over 51.5 receiving yards. And then we got A.J. Brown to score a touchdown or to be the first touchdown of the game. And then you got Chase, Brown, and Kittle for the anytime touchdown parlay. Join the Discords below, and you will have, I'll probably have 2 or 3 more anytime touchdown parlays given out before the noon slates hit. Going to enjoy this Toy Story game with the little one. She's going to be all excited to watch the second half of this game in Andy's room. But yeah, I don't know if you have any updates. I haven't seen anything pop up throughout the stream. If you guys do, DM me at .bets on Twitter. Make sure you guys always check out Occupy Fantasy at occupyfantasy.com. Join their Discord. You'll see me ask them questions every once in a while. But great community. Make sure you guys join them. And with that, we will get up on out of here. Let's cash some tickets. Let's get after week 4. See you guys.